Thanks for downloading this episode of On the Record Online with Eric Schwartzman, the podcast about how technology is changing the world of communications. To subscribe to the podcast or share feedback, visit us online at ontherecordpodcast.com, on Twitter at ontherecord, or send email to ontherecordpodcast@gmail.com.
My guest today is Freddie Minnie. He's the CEO of Netvibes. Freddie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, and hello, Eric.
Now, I can hear in your accent, and as we discussed, I know you're from France, and
yes.
The last interview we did on Google Reader Alternatives was with Cyril Moutron, who's the co-founder at Feedly. Is there a French conspiracy to control the RSS newsreader business?
No, I don't think so. It's just that we'd like to change the put some French accent to all this English accent everywhere, from UK, Scotland, and Wales, and Australia, and the US. So we thought that we had to contribute to all those accents.
Now, Netvibes has been around for a while. But interestingly enough, it's not one of the brands that's being talked about as Google Reader Alternatives. A lot of people talking about Feedly. I haven't heard a lot of discussion about Netvibes, but the truth is I knew about you guys before Feedly. You guys have been around a while, right?
Yeah, in fact, Netvibes was live for the first time on the 15th of September 2005. And we had only one round of funding back in August 2006, only one. So we decided to monetize Netvibes back in Q2 2008 and got to profitability and got bought by Dassault Systèmes in February of last year. That being said, we are the only product on Earth that does both what iGoogle and Google Reader do, meaning that we have both a widget view and a reader view for the same corpus, i.e. the same set of source of information.
I noticed that. The widget view is very cool. Even with Reader, Google Reader, often, once it became difficult, once Twitter and Facebook removed the native RSS link from their platforms, you had to actually hack the RSS feed using Notepad. But I see that in the widget view on the free version of Netvibes, you can just put in a keyword and monitor open status updates on Facebook and Twitter. So it just creates that feed for you. And also I noticed that you have Board Reader in there as well, which is very convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we keep on saying that, it's not about the format. And, in fact, we think that all the thought about, what is the file format, and depending on the file format, then you will pick your application, sounds very like, the discussion back in the 80s where, it was the Word format, and if you have the Word format, then you need to have Word. I think that those discussions are way over. I mean, now the thing is the user needs to decide what kind of information he wants to track or wants to listen to, and it's up to Netvibes, in fact, to provide a service to deliver this information in the way and structure that the user wants. So also we believe since we moved to monetization back in mid-2008, we thought that it's impossible to have one view fits all, because the reader view is great because you have a chronological order of all the news, but at the same time in Google Reader, if you want to have the weather, it's impossible. So we believe that if you want to have the weather, and to an extent of that, if you want to follow your sales, or if you want to have an eye on your inventory, I mean, you should be able to both being able to read what's important in your business and also to track the movement on, I would say open data type, the weather, but also internal data, i.e. your internal stuff. The internal stuff is for the paid version.
Now, I noticed that when you're setting up a widget, in widget view. You can put in a keyword. Can you issue also Boolean queries in that function in that search field?
Of course, yes. Yeah, of course, yes.
Because I tried to do an exact phrase match with a first name last name, and it just spun and spun. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I got.
No, that should work. In fact, all the Boolean. In fact, we try to use the search engine that we use is Exalead, and we try to have the exact, and we try and we succeed. So we have the exact same syntax as Google. So all the things that you know how to do with Google, with your and or and so on and so forth, and the bracket, you can do that in Netvibes.
And then in social search, on the widget view, you've also got Google+.
Yes. Yes, we had to.
I haven't seen that in any of the other readers.
Well, the thing is, as a reminder, in fact, the big difference between everybody else and Netvibes is that Netvibes is based, its monetization and business model on a B2B. So in fact, we want to use the free version as the dashboard, and getting people to use get used to the logic and the usability of Netvibes, but immediately or a little bit after, try to of course go to the paid version, so that you will be able to monitor everything and learn from everyone and have all the analytics on everything that matters to your business. So we had to we had to add Google Plus, and we can't remove that, because in a business, if you want to being exhaustive on everything that happens on your brand, you have to have Google Plus.
So in terms of the differences between the free version and the premium version, is it basically just the analytics?
It's fairly simple. In fact, we try to be as simple as possible. So, first of all, the word that Netvibes wants to acquire and wants to be identified with is dashboard. So Netvibes equal dashboard. That's what we want. The tagline of Netvibes is dashboard everything, meaning that we are able to build a dashboard on everything you want. The vision that we have now is dashboard intelligence. So which means that the word dashboard, which is aggregation and personal aggregation, is free and will remain free. Now, if you want to share this aggregation, i.e. if you want to publish your dashboard to someone else, that is the paid version. And or if you want to have analytics and if you want to have intelligence on the content that you have aggregated, that's also the paid version. So if you have, for example, if you have a table with 2 lines and 2 columns, if you have individual and group use, and on the Y, if you have dashboard and intelligence, basically dashboard for you only is free. Anything else on the table is for a fee.
And then how much is the premium version?
The premium version starts at for an individual at $4.99. And the price, of course, per month, and the price goes down by the quantity, of course, and also per role. So to make it simple, if you want to move to the paid version, it's $4.99 a month. But if you are, for example, we have a package for agencies that is $15,000 a year, and that package includes 5 people. So it's a kind of a starter kit for an agency or a marketing department to get started with Netvibes. Now, depending on what you do with Netvibes, you will pay a different fee. So if you are the publisher, i.e. the webmaster of the dashboard, that's the most expensive. Then you have the analytics, the people who manipulate all the what, where, and and some additional feature that we have, like you can build newsletters automatically out of Netvibes. So that is also part of the things that the publisher can do. And then the people who subscribe to a dashboard, that's the lowest price.
Now, in terms of the things that you can monitor, do you get to monitor everything in the free version, or are there other things that you can monitor in the premium version that aren't included in the free version?
In fact, there is one limit that, in terms of monitoring, i.e., being able to be in front of your dashboard, you can monitor any RSS. You are also limited by, for the social stuff, Facebook and Twitter, you are limited to the free API. i.e., Twitter has, for example, an API named 1.1 that will replace the 1.0 on May 7th, and that, in fact, API limit the number of requests at 180 per 15 minutes. So if you want to have more than that, then we have a paid version. In fact, an access to the firewalls of Twitter that, of course, is not on a free version. Also, if you want to monitor any internal data or anything that's required to create a chart, and that chart will be comparable to any other chart, and the social analytics, that also is limited to the paid version.
On the free version versus the paid version, how far back on a service like Twitter can you go?
That's a very good question. In fact, the short answer is 7 days, because the API limits the query to go back 7 days by nature, by the Twitter API. If you want more than that, you should contact us, because we have access to a partner that give us access to every tweet from the 1st of January 2011. But it's a paid service.
And how did that work on Reader? Because it seemed like on Reader, if you hacked a feed, a feed of a Twitter query and brought it into Reader, you were able to maintain those links in Reader pretty much indefinitely. Is that true or no?
No, in fact, it might be true today, but Twitter is changing its API. So with the API 1.1, I'm not sure that you will be able to continue to do so.
Even though those links are stored, moving forward, you wouldn't be able to do that with the introduction of the new API.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And in fact, I don't want to talk for Twitter, because we are not related to them. But what I would like to share is, as you can imagine, Netvibes doesn't fork, doesn't hack, anything. So in fact, we give you everything that is in the free version, everything that is publicly available. So we will be limited by the free API of the social networks. If you want to go farther than that, then there are services that give you access to history on the social network and many other stuff. We work with those partners, and we are able to connect with those partners, and in fact, for a fee, give you, for example, if you have an accident on Twitter and you were monitoring what people were saying about your brand, and you say, well, I'd like to compare what it was a year ago, then you will need to talk to us, because we can do that, but we will need to have a request on those history, get the tweets from a year ago, and then run the analytics so that you can compare the two periods.
Let's talk for a moment about in-feed and in-directory search. So let's say I've prepared a collection of feeds, and I've got them either on a tab in the widget view or in a directory in the reader view. Is there a way that I can query within that directory?
Only on the paid version.
Only on the paid version.
Yeah, only on the paid version, because that in fact requires to run an index of the content, and we can't have such a cost on the free version. So
on the free version, there's no search at all within any of the feeds.
You have the search, in fact, of the feed that are in the dashboard at the moment of the search.
So, for example, I've now I'm in widget view, and I searched Netvibes.
Yeah.
And I see on the left-hand side my news search. It's got Bing News and Yahoo News by default.
Yeah.
But I can hit the little plus sign and bring Google News in there as well, and I will.
Yeah.
And then at the top of that widget is a search field, which is by default on Yahoo. So you're saying I could use that little search field to query anything within these 3 different feeds, or just the tab that's open?
In fact, on the free version, you have an option in the settings where you can search on what is available in the dashboard as it is. So it's like the Control F on your browser, if you will, but more into the content of the dashboard. But the question that you are asking is, can you search, in fact, within your corpus? And that is, in fact, a feature reserved for the paid version.
Got it. So when I look at that search field on the top of a widget, that's not going to search what's in the widget. That's going to be used to query Google News, Bing News, and Yahoo News to find different stories.
Yeah, in the free version, yes.
Got it. Let's talk for a minute about latency, because it's something nobody really talks much about, but it's certainly a concern when you think about smaller companies getting into this business and trying to replace a vacuum that Google will create when they exit. And, latency is never really a concern with Google because, their job is to spider the Internet and index pages. So as long as they can, do that and monitor at the same time, you're going to get it as soon as it's available in search. But then, when you look at a lot of the monitoring services that are out there, often there are significant latency issues with respect to getting news in a timely or links in a timely fashion. So what can you tell us about how you approach that challenge at Netvibes?
There are, in fact, several questions in your question, and we need to define latency. So do you define latency as the time it takes to get the news in Netvibes versus the time it is published on the publisher site? Is it your definition of latency?
That's a great question. No, I would not. That would not be my definition of latency. My definition of latency would be the period between a page being added to Google's search index and the period at which it's available through Netvibes.
Okay. Well, in fact, we are not dependent on Google and the Google index. We are not dependent at all. And that, in fact, is a huge, very good question, because you mentioned in the beginning that Netvibes was not the primary, but more the secondary alternative to Google Reader. And it is true. I admit that. So there is no dispute. We have, since the Google Reader announcement, we have, still welcome several hundred of thousand users. I can't give you the number, but it's not in million, but it is in several, many hundred of thousand. I can't say more than that. But the point, which is lower than what Feedly announced, and don't get me wrong, Feedly is a great product. Now the thing is, the difference between Feedly and Netvibes is Netvibes has its own back office. So, in fact, we are not dependent on the back office of Google Reader. In a nutshell, you have the front office that manage the feeds, and you have the back office that will manage all the feeds and the read and read and the latency that we are going to talk about. What I'm trying to say is, so far, it has been relatively easy for Feedly to get the Google Reader people, because they are still using the back office of Google Reader. When I think it will be more like an apple to apple, I think will be in July, when the back office of Google Reader will be shut down. What I'm saying today is we are not using the back office of Google Reader, and we never did and never will. So we are not dependent on that. Now, the question is hugely important, because the question on latency is not dependent on Google at all, but it's dependent on our crawler. So which means that we have a technology, and in fact we have that technology since 2008. And end of 2008, we have our own crawling technology. So again, we don't depend on Google. So we use, in fact, one major technology. We use others, but we use one major technology that named Instant Update, that we have developed and which belong to Netvibes and only used by Netvibes. The way it works is, in fact, we crawl the sources of information that every user gives to Netvibes. Today we are at 3 million. So we crawl 3 million sources of information, and we crawl it on as smart as possible, meaning that if it is a source that updates frequently, then we crawl frequently, so that we can spare the CPU time on our server. So to answer your question, our latency varies in between 2 to 20 minutes.
We're talking to Netvibes CEO Freddie Minnie, and when we come back, he's going to tell us about Netvibes as an engagement dashboard as well as a listening platform. But first, let's just take a minute to talk about the importance of social media monitoring in any social media outreach or any marketing effort. Too many people rush onto Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn without any hard data on where their customers really are. On social media, the options for engagement are limitless, but unfortunately, at most organizations, the resources are finite. So if you're smart, you'll start by doing an audit, an analysis of all social media against unbranded keywords and get some idea of where the hot pockets of conversation are amongst the influencers in your industry. You used to be able to do that really well with Google Reader, but now that they're going away, it's going to be important to find other tools to do that with. One of those tools, which was featured in a previous episode, is Feedly. In this episode, we're looking at Netvibes. But regardless of the tool you choose, if you don't have the ability to listen and the ability to analyze, social media marketing really is a fool's errand. If you are a professional in the marketing business and you're working on social media campaigns, either inside a company or outside as an agency representative, you're going to be much more successful if the rest of the people in your organization know how to use social media as well. My company, Comply Socially, provides enterprise-wide social media literacy and compliance training so that when you do share, people in the organization know how to retweet and share and comment on your stuff. And so people know how to do it responsibly and safely. So if you're looking to spur greater adoption of social media in your company, or you want to just get more people involved in conversations, because remember, each time you get someone else involved in a conversation on social media, they bring their friends with them. Check out our offering at complysocially.com. You can either buy the courses individually via e-commerce on that site, or talk to us about group licensing. If you have a large organization and you want to get several hundred or even several thousand seats on our training courseware to increase the digital literacy rate of your workforce, that's what we're all about. So we can help both the PR and the marketing department or the entire organization, the call center, the sales force, frontline employees, whoever it is that you're looking to train. We can do it more cost effectively than probably anyone else out there. So give us a try. You can also become a reseller of our courseware. And as you'll see, we pay very generous commissions. So if you're a consultant and you're involved in social media strategy and you're looking for a recurring revenue opportunity, we definitely want to meet you. I think we have a product that can really help your clients, and we want you to participate in those sales as well. So you'll find a link to the reseller program in the show notes for this podcast, or just hop on over to complysocially.com, lower right-hand corner of the page. Just click the reseller link and sign up for the reseller program, and we will contact you and give you more details after we receive your query. And now let's get back to the interview with Netvibes CEO Freddie Minnie.
Right now we're talking about Netvibes as a monitoring dashboard. But there are a number of services out there, all of them premium for the most part, and huge disparity in price, but these services are monitoring and engagement. Yeah. And the two I'm thinking of are Hootsuite and Radian6.
Yeah.
And if you think about, the pricing, I would put Netvibes obviously more in the category of Radian6 than a product like Hootsuite.
That's what we want.
The engagement side, is the engagement side something that you're interested in or something that's available in the premium version that I can't see?
Well, if we define engagement in the sense that you can reply and use it as a community management tool, is it your definition?
I would. I would say, being able to participate and manage in conversations,
okay,
and be able to route issues internally throughout a team. So the team can participate in the branded feed, and one person can monitor and then bring another person into the conversation, and then issues can be resolved by a team through a branded account.
And that is not what we want to do. So in fact, what we do is we connect. I mean, it's a different job. So we try, not to do every job so that, we would be spread too thin, but we try to focus on the dashboard intelligence part, i.e. we want to be the most comfortable and the most exhaustive in the way you can monitor stuff, i.e. RSS, but also any kind of information, including, again, your enterprise system information. And we believe that, when you think about your brand, it's not just RSS, but it's RSS, it's also your sales, it's also the prediction of your inventory, and so on and so forth. So we want to be able to manage any kind of KPI, any kind of return on investment that you want using our monitoring tools. Now, to answer your question, we link to those products with the share link that you have on Netvibes, and you can see those share in the free version as well. So in the free version, when you have...
I noticed in the free version, the share link, let me attach one Facebook account and one Twitter account, right? But I can't do more than that.
In fact, you can do more than one Twitter account. For Facebook, it is true, and it's true by nature of Facebook. But on the Twitter account, you can use several Twitter accounts. If you add several Twitter widgets with a different account on your dashboard, you will be able to spread the tweets on different accounts.
Can I differentiate between a Facebook a profile and a page?
On Facebook, it's only one account.
So, and I can only go to a profile, not a page.
Yeah.
Can I share to Google+?
That will be the scoop of the day. We are, in fact, working on a new version of Share that, in fact, will open to many other community management capabilities. From the names that you mentioned before, and including also Google+. So the answer is yes in a couple of weeks.
Okay. And I'm going to apologize for the background noise. Someone's just fired up some power tools outside, but hopefully it won't be too much of a distraction. Let's talk about analytics for a second, because this is a huge hole that Google Reader leaves when they roll up their carpet and take the service away on July 1st, 2013. One of the most useful features in Google Reader, from my perspective, was the Trends feature. And the Trends feature allowed you to take a look at, of all your feeds. If you had several hundred feeds in there, you could see which ones were delivering the most relevant stories based on which ones you were actually clicking and which ones you were reading. And then you had the starred feature as well. Now, Feedly doesn't have anything like that at all. And it seems to me that without that ability to get some perspective over the data that you're consuming and which ones are most useful, it's kind of tough to get a feel for where the hot pockets of conversation are in an industry if you don't have any sort of analysis. So talk to us about how you do that. Do you integrate Google Analytics? What sort of features are available? Because I haven't seen it. I have the free version.
Well, you can see the paid version, the paid version in action in Insight, like INSIGHTS, insight.netvibes.com. It's a free access, and you, in fact, can test drive 5 or 6 premium dashboard, which are business cases per industry. So you will be able to see what we are talking about. There is a video, and also you can drive the dashboard yourself. So, but your question is, in fact, the question. What we discover, and it's kind of funny because, we've been so long in the game that, it's kind of a domino effect. The point being that we thought, from 2005 to 2009, we thought that aggregation, i.e. dashboarding, was enough. And in fact, we thought that, it was the job that we had to accomplish. And what we discover is the better the job you do, in terms of the number of sources of information that you follow, and also as real time as possible, i.e. the question on the latency, the better you will be in following a lot of stuff and with, the update ASAP on all the sources that you have. We thought that, that would be the ultimate product. And in fact, what we discovered back in 2009 is that, in fact, is a recipe for frustration. Why? Because you can't spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to monitor all the tabs at the same time. It's impossible. So basically, you work and you aggregate, and you have a tool that, if it works perfectly, will not be useful. So once we discover that, we move into the step 2 of Netvibes. And step 2 of Netvibes is the intelligence part of it, because, when you have such a problem of having too much information coming to you, like in the real world, you ask for someone's help. And so that's what we have with the smart tagging in the paid version of Netvibes. The smart tagging is, in fact, the ability for all the people who have access to the paid dashboard to tag an article and to put a sentiment on that tag. Tag plus sentiment equal opinion. So basically, we are collecting the opinion of the people that you trust because you gave them access to your dashboard. And that, in fact, is a big way back in 2009 and beginning of 10 that we've sold Netvibes to marketing departments and ad agencies and PR agencies, because they were able, for their clients, to tag the articles that they thought were important and put a sentiment to what was, for their client, the content of the article. But then we reach another limitation, because the clients were saying, this is great, we love it, but I'd like to have something that crunch everything. And again, if you do a great job in accumulating thousands of sources of information per dashboard all the time, I will never have enough people and enough consultants to smart tag everything in the dashboard. So that's the reason why we moved into the semantic analysis. So the semantic analysis that we have today are based on Exalead, which is another brand of Dassault System, and we try to answer to the 6 Ws, meaning that on a tab, on the whole dashboard, or a specific subject, we try to say what is going on. Of course, what are the trends? Who is talking, i.e., who are the influencers? Where is it happening, i.e., in what type of media? When is it happening, of course, because everything is chronological. And we don't do why at this time. We're working on it. Now, once we've done that, and that was till the end of 2011, what we discover is once you do that, you make the people who paid for the Netvibes dashboard, we made those people smarter, and that's good. But it's not enough, because those people want to share what they found, and they want also to have an automation so that the dashboard would be on autopilot. And once the dashboard found something, then it would reach out to them and trigger actions on its own. And that's in fact what we have in the product today. The trigger the action is named invoke a URL. So in the paid version, once you say, if my negative opinion are above 50%, then I want to, for example, trigger an ad campaign in Google AdSense. That today Netvibes is able to do. We want also to make sure that if, for example, the marketing department is building a dashboard for a product, we want to make sure that the CIOs and the CXOs of the company will receive every Monday, like the best articles and all the charts about dimensions and the correlation of the charts of dimensions with the sales of the company on that product. And we want those guys to receive this newsletter on every Monday. But we want also from the same dashboard to receive every day for the marketing people all the positive article and all the negative article. So the point I'm trying to make is it's really all about listening to everything, i.e. the dashboarding and the aggregation of everything, learning from everyone, i.e., manually the manual curation of the smart tagging and the automatic algorithm. And 3, it's the action or the spread of the knowledge, which in fact, if you don't do that, everything you've done before is quite limited.
So let's talk for a minute about the accuracy or inaccuracy of rich text analysis. In the current episode of the podcast, I spoke with Brian Solis about his new book, What's the Future of Business? And we had a discussion about a recent post by Om Malik about the soul of big data.
I love this post.
You saw the post, okay.
I saw the post, and I love the post, and I sent, we started a discussion with Om. I think it's one of the major articles that was published over the last 2 or 3 months.
Now, what he essentially says is that in order to draw any sort of conclusions from different types of data, you have to be able to compare and make assumptions based on based on comparing different data sources to one another. Now, I mean, you've got all that data coming into Netvibes, but if you look at, the accuracy or, the usefulness of so many of these targeting tools that try to serve you advertising based on the words you use, they're absolutely, stupid. I mean, they don't give you useful information. I mean, I could be having an email exchange with someone from the Marine Corps because I'm doing business with them, United States Marine Corps, and then I'll start seeing ads for, U.S. Army medals or something crazy like that.
Yeah, join the Army. Yeah.
It's crazy. So I mean, first off, tell us, what would you say is a good percentage rate for the accuracy of rich text analytics? Where is it today, and where do you see it heading in the near future?
Well, it's again a great question, and my answer will be in 2 parts. The first one is, especially when Twitter will be such a big part of your analytics. Having analytics on 140 characters, especially with all the acronyms, and especially with the context of some conversation, is almost an impossible job. Let me rephrase that. I believe, if you want a number, I believe that our analytics are, if I had to, put a number, I would say we are accurate at 80%, which is already, a very aggressive assumption. But I think that it is not, in fact, the right way to look at the problem. Let me explain that. I mean, the first one is believing that an engine, an algorithm, will be able to give to you the sentiment and with precision of, how your brand or, this article or this source of information talks about you is an impossible job. I believe that, and that's the reason why we are doing two things. And that's what we say to our clients. Our clients are fascinated with the positive or negative. We can explain the positive or negative. In fact, the technology within Exalead is extremely powerful. Based on grammar, based on rules, it's very, very powerful. I mean, there is a lot of linguists at Exalead, and they are doing a brilliant job. Now, again, it will never be 100% accurate. So you can't base a decision on something that is not 100% accurate. Now, you have two ways to compensate that. I mean, of course, you can, on that part, you can continue to improve, and that's what we are going to do. But you have two ways to compensate that. One is rely on your collaborator opinion. The point being, if you want 100% truth or 100% trustworthiness, then the people that work with you or the people that you give access to your dashboard and who put an opinion, I mean, it's like, having a meeting with that guy and the guy say, I think this article is positive or negative. But it's more important than that. It's important because you trust that guy. And it's important because the level of sentiment is not limited to positive or negative, but it will go to any kind of sentiment that he adds to it. I mean, it could be threat, it could be opportunity, it could be much more granular than that. The second point is, first point is if you want to compensate the vagueness of this semantic analysis algorithm, go with an opinion and collect as much opinion as possible. The third point is in fact something that we are working on, and we are going to release something in a couple of weeks. But it's based, and I won't, of course, I'd like to keep my secret, but just to give you the principle. I believe, and in fact that's also one of the reasons why I believe that the article from Home was extremely good. I believe that there is no one KPI. I mean, there is no one this is positive or negative, but there are many. And for example, when you have people saying, well, I did invest $1 million on Facebook and we got 15,000 or 150,000 new friends or follower or fans, whatever. So what? And what people are realizing now, it's pointless. But the point is, it's all a matter. Every business for the last 2,000 years has been driven by return on investment. So the point of the matter is the money that you spend on a social investment has many ways to have KPIs. I mean, it could be, for example, that you want to compare your marketing budget with your sales. You might want also to compare yourself with the level of pollen, the level of rain, the level of strike, the level of development that you add within your company. So the point of the matter is the context is in fact a bunch of comparison of metrics that in fact will, like on the stock market, when you have two charts and you try to understand the rhythm of one curve versus the other, that is where you are able to understand, in fact, the context of what's going on. And the beauty of the system is that not only it can, forecast the short future, but also it can tell you that if there is a rhythm on one end, then you can learn on how to, manage or predict your own business in the near-term future.
What can you tell us about the size of Netvibes, the company?
Well, the company is wholly owned by Dassault Systèmes. We are about 40 people. We were profitable before the takeover. We don't release our sales number and the profit that we make. We didn't do it before, and we can't. It's even less of a potential of revealing those numbers now that we are part of a publicly traded company.
But if you wanted to, let's say you were meeting with the IT people from, or someone's kicking your tires and you want to build confidence that you have the infrastructure to do the job, what would you do?
Oh, that's in fact, we have a joke about that because many times it doesn't happen. Well, many times, let's say, we have this question because we are fighting against some of our competitor, and I'm thinking of IBM, but there are many others that I'd like not to mention. And the question from the client is, we are a large corporation, and to the question, can you scale, and can you deliver your service to 10 or 100 or 1,000 of people? That's in fact a very funny question because we have millions of people that we serve every month, and we have more than twice the number of users than the largest company in terms of number of employees in the world. So yes, we can scale. I would say also that Netvibes, to the contrary, I mean, Google is a beautiful company. We have a lot of admiration for what they do. Of course, I mean, we would not. But the difference with, in between Google and Netvibes is that you can imagine that our resource, even now there's a system, but our resource have nothing to do with Google. So that in fact forced us to be as lean as possible and between brackets as smart as possible. So the number of servers that we have is in the hundreds of servers, not in the thousands. And we have, in fact, a very, very, very good back office team.
Final question. So there's a section called General under the widgets view.
Yeah.
Which, I guess that's the place where you'd get the weather and general news like that. And then there's an uncategorized as well. One of the really useful things about Google Reader was the ability to bring in news and information chronologically.
Yeah.
And there are so many services out there that attempt to tell you which ones are the most important algorithmically. Obviously we see it with the discovery feed now in Twitter and, the default view of top news in Facebook. But one of the things that's always been so useful about Google Reader, versus those two services is the ability that you actually see it as it happens chronologically. I mean, do you see yourselves going to a place where there's some sort of a social filter that would help you discover the most important or timely stories, or do you think, news discovery chronologically is the way to go? And I guess the question is, what's the value of discovery versus chronology in news feeds?
Well, discovery is something that we tried to do back in 2007, and it's a very, very complex problem. And it's also, it's like the sentiment analysis. Although you can have a much greater and better return on your investment, i.e., a satisfactory result. But it's not our view of the problem. Our view of the problem in the paid one is that you can analyze. For example, you have say 3 tabs. Say that you are on the stock market and you are looking for large cap companies like Apple and Google. And say you have 2 tabs, and you have Apple on one and Google on the second one, and then you have, everything that you want to listen to about Apple on the first one, and everything that you want to listen to on Google on the second one. Well, the way you would work with Netvibes to answer your question is you would build what we name a social analysis app that would say what is happening on Apple. And you can also say that you want to know what is happening on Apple from a matter of sources, i.e. TechCrunch, Google, GigaOM, VentureBeat, and so on and so forth. And that, in fact, will create a widget. And on that widget, as soon as something, arrive and qualify, then you will see that, on the top of your list. So basically you would build a filter, and you will tell, Netvibes, what you want to, aim at, and on that target, if something is happening, then you will see that on top of your list. It is also true for the smart tagging that I mentioned before, because if, for example, you have the CMO and you have the VP of product, and then you have a bunch of product director, and all of those guys smart tag all the articles that are on the dashboard, you can decide, for example, to have an alert and see on your dashboard everything that your boss has read. And in fact, you can even receive via email everything that your boss has read and believe is an opportunity or a threat. So the potential is infinite in the sense that it's not based on an algorithm that will tell you it's important. It is based on what you say, I'd like to, be alerted from the sources of information that you did aggregate yourself. In fact,
when can we expect to see the new sharing features that you mentioned?
When, you say?
Yes.
It's a couple of weeks, so soon.
And that's what you were referring to earlier, where you said you can't talk about the whole thing, but.
No, it's different. No, it's different. The new share is one feature that it's easy for me to say that the share that we have here is a little bit old. I have to admit, it's probably from the 2008. So we completely redesigned and re-engineered that part, and that should be out in a couple of weeks. The thing that I mentioned before, which in fact was a way to compare everything to everything. It's also a couple of weeks, but it's different. It's different.
We've been talking to Freddie Minnie. He's the CEO of Netvibes. Freddie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Eric. It was my pleasure.
You've been listening to On the Record Online with Eric Schwartzman, the podcast about how technology is changing the world of communications. To subscribe to the podcast or share feedback, visit us online at ontherecordpodcast.com. on Twitter at OnTheRecord, or send email to ontherecordpodcast@gmail.com. On the Record Online is hosted by Eric Schwartzman, an independent online communications consultant whose clients include the U.S. Department of State, the United States Marine Corps, the U.S. Embassy of Greece, the Government of Singapore, Johnson & Johnson, Toyota, Southern California Edison, the Environmental Defense Fund, and dozens of small to medium-sized organizations. For information about engaging Eric Schwartzman as a speaker, social media trainer, or digital strategist, visit www.ericschwartzman.com or send email to eric@ericschwartzman.com.